What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to episode 2 of the Outrider YT2400 mini-series. I'm Zerleet, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And we're going to be picking up right where we left off in episode 1. We're going to start filling in the cockpit area and then really start fleshing out the ship. So let's go ahead and jump right into this today. Now you can see that I am spamming these blocks down. I'm just bringing it up to the cut line right there. So don't worry about counting that out. You just want to make sure that your cut line for our cockpit area that we're building is matching up this wall that we're building right here on the left. We're only bringing it up to that same cut line right there. As long as you're doing that, you're in good shape. I meant to get episode 2 out last week, but things just been crazy with work, and I've been also putting the Voyager videos out. But we still have 2 more episodes to do for the Outrider after episode 2. I'm going to try to get the next 2 videos out over the next 2 weeks, so that this way we can be done with this one and then just moving along to the next one. But the Outrider has been a lot of fun to build. I've really enjoyed it, going back and building something that maybe not being so known to some people. I don't know, like, I remember when Shadows of the Empire came out when I was a kid. I actually really enjoyed the game. But, like, it's one of those games that for some reason not a lot of people remember, you know what I mean? But, I don't know, the Outrider is just, it was always a very cool looking ship to me. I always thought it was very interesting the way that it looked. It felt like a spaceship, you know what I mean? And that's one of the things I want to do with my channel. I don't want to just build Federation ships. I want to start getting into stuff outside of Star Trek here and there. And I thought this was a good ship to start that with. But if there are any other ships that you want to see me do, or any other builds in general, drop a comment below. Definitely love hearing from everybody. So we're going to be doing, we did a row of blue going along our cut line of gray, and then we're going 5 back. We went in with a cut and then 5 back. So essentially we're just building out the back end frame of the cockpit area. I don't know what the technical term is for that specific area. I'm not like a mega nerd or anything, so that's why we're going to call it the cockpit area and just leave it at that. And now we're going to do another layer of the gray concrete going around our cut line here. And then we're going to do a row of 3 on that same row, going back. And I talked about this in the tour episode in the first video, episode 1. I really tried to like knock this thing out in a really short period of time. I think I built this ship in like 2 hours or something like that. Whatever ended up being, where I had to unfortunately divide this into 4 episodes. But originally I had intended this just to be a one-off video. But, you know, it just ended up being one of those things where as I got into the beans of building this thing out, it took a little bit more time to get all that detailing in. But after everything is all said and done, I'm actually really happy with how this ship has turned out. I actually went on YouTube after the fact, after I finished this, and I looked to see if anybody else had made the Outrider. And not tooting my own horn, but out of what I've seen other people do, this thing blows all the other ones just completely out of the water. But even with that being said, there's still maybe some areas that I could have done a little bit better. But also bear in mind, this was a 2-hour build. I didn't spend like a ton of time developing this thing out. I just really, I think I built this like over a period of 2 days, and I really just rocked and rolled, trying to get through as much as I could in the shortest period of time. So we're just gradually building out our cockpit area, and now we're going in, we're filling in our frame here. And this is a good part to build up, and there's a reason why I'm doing this now at this portion of the build, because this area will help with the proportions of the rest of the ship. If you're not super familiar with building ships in Minecraft, or just in general, you always want to have your proportion points. And what I mean by your proportion points, as an example, this is our cockpit area. So what we're going to do, essentially, is that we have to go on either whatever search engine that you're going to use and do your research. So do a bunch of research for Outrider YT2400. See if you can find a 3D model, photos, whatever you can find. And what we do is we'll use the cockpit area. Let's say that'll be our anchor point for our proportions. So essentially what we do there is we look at the cockpit on our reference material, either the photo references that we can find or 3D model, and then we're going to compare the size of that to the rest of the ship based on what our build looks like, comparing that to the photo. This is what I'm talking about with your proportion points. And when you start to do that, it's going to make your ships or your builds in general come out a little bit better, because you're not just building off the top of your head. Some people have a photographic memory where they don't have to go off of that stuff. And I mean, I think a lot of people could probably do that, where you can just build something off of memory. But when you have that photo reference, like if you look at some of the best artists, like Alex Ross, for example, even if you're not in the comic books, Alex Ross is like one of the best comic book artists in the industry, period. He uses reference photos. That's one of the reasons why his photos look so realistic, because he has those reference points to go off of. So that's why I say, like, you know, take advantage of that. Get your reference photos. Use that tool. I mean, we'll call it a tool, but use that to your advantage, because it's going to help your build to come out all that much better. So what we've done here is that we've added a lip going out one with a cut line going all the way around here, because now we're going to start to really turn this into a 3D shape. And now we're going to repeat that same process on the underside. We're going down and out one with the cut line, and we're just following our pattern. As long as you do that, no mistakes can happen. And if you did make a mistake, it's because you're not following the steps that I'm going over and following your pattern and cut line. So this is one of the reasons why I like to go with the cut, because this helps myself from not making as many mistakes. Because at the end of the day, like, we're all human, people make mistakes. It's ultimately going to happen no matter how much time that you take in the build or how much attention you're paying to what you're doing. Mistakes can still ultimately happen. You know what I mean? But going down the list of the steps that I have in place anyway, these are the things that I've done to kind of help me where I'm not making so many mistakes. So we're going with our cut line, then we're going to go back, we're going to double check our work, and then we're going to compare that to the reference material that we have to make sure that what we're doing matches that reference material, and we're kind of going in the direction that we need to go into. You can see the back lower right hand corner, we haven't built 3D layered that area out just yet, but we're going to get there. Now we're just going to try to connect this point to the cockpit area. That's not looking too bad, but we're going to have to bring the cockpit out because it sticks out a little bit than the rest of the ship. So we're definitely going to have to bring that out some. Now, to be honest with you, the only thing I didn't get to do with the Outrider that I really wanted to do was all like the circuitry and whatnot, like in the middle of the hull. Like if you're looking at the front of it, if you're at a front view and you're looking at the in-between, like where we'll have the gray, that was the only thing I didn't get a chance to do. And like I experimented a little bit with different blocks, and nothing I did came out the way that I wanted it to. Now, I do want to mention this. You can see this line here that I just added. It's back one from our cockpit, and we're just going to bring that all the way in. because there's two struts that connect this area. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. That connects this top piece to this piece. So there's a strut here and then here connecting the main ship to our cockpit. So we have to make an adjustment here. This part here in the middle is going to be more or less a gap. And then looking at the reference material, and like this corner here, it kind of sticks out a little bit. So that's why I'm bringing that out by 2. That's not looking too bad. All things considered. It's not looking bad at all. Alright, so let's move right along. So now we're going to go into our inner ring here, and we're going to do a row of, we're going to add 2 layers to it, top and bottom. And we're going to do that going all the way around. Don't worry so much about the inside of the ship. I don't know if we'll be doing the inside of the Outrider, but by the time this thing is done, you will have room to do it. You will just have to clean up a little bit on the inside of the ship. But basically what's going to happen is, depending on how well this video does, or this video series, will determine if we end up doing the interior of the Outrider. Because if I don't get a ton of views, to be honest with you, there's not really going to be much of a point to do the interior. I'll just move on to something else. Because that's going to be a thing too. Not every single video I put out is going to hit. Hopefully this does, because it's a cool ship, and it's a shame that more people don't know about it. And I do actually kind of want to do the interior, because I think it would be a lot of fun. And it would be different than the stuff I've done in the past. But everything I'm doing here, anybody can do this. You know, it's just planning ahead and breaking your build down and coming up with a game plan as far as how you're going to build it, your plan of attack, and just breaking it down step by step by step, and making it happen, you know. And here's the thing too, mistakes are going to happen. This is why I say make multiple save files, because if it doesn't come out the way that you want, no big deal, you can just revert back to the last one. Now this very center ring, we're going to be going up 1 row higher than that ring that's 1 row out that we just filled in. And we want to do the same thing for the underside. To be perfectly honest with you, I could have just skipped past this stuff. It might have helped shorten the video up, because that's something that we're doing on Voyager and on my other builds. But I don't think I was necessarily thinking about that when I recorded this. I think I was just more concerned with how quickly can I do this. What I'm doing here, and why I'm building it out this way, I want to briefly talk about this. Now you can see that this row is 1 block shorter than this one, but this row is higher than this one, because what I'm essentially trying to do is anticipate our cut lines and our progression points as we progress up towards our center. So I say planning out your builds is really, really helpful. You say I added a row going straight across here. That's because there's like this little extra piece that kind of sits on this side of the Outrider. Looking pretty good so far. Now we're going to come and we're going to fill in a row of white concrete going along our blue builder line. This blue builder line more or less represents what will be the hyperdrive engine. I just have that in blue so this way it stands out and it's not bleeding in with the rest of the ship. Very, very helpful in your build process, because this is just another thing that's going to help you to not make as many mistakes. And I mean, yeah, could you build it in the white concrete? Sure. And if you're really careful, yeah, you can do it without making a mistake. But I don't know. As you, those of you that have gone with me through my tutorials will know this is just kind of how I build my ships, and I just kind of feel like this works out better than doing it with the in the same color. It closes the margin of error more or less, is what I'm trying to say, or it helps close it. Alright, so we're going to repeat the same line that we just did on the underside. Same pattern, going with a row 2. Doesn't look like much now, but just stick with me as we get through the rest of this episode and then the next two. If you saw the tour episode, that's what the finished ship is going to look like. It's just going to take us just a little bit to get there. So now we're going to do a blue builder line going along the sides here, just to kind of get a general shape of what this piece on the left side of the ship looks like. And then we're going to do a row of white concrete on the top and bottom. And like I said, I don't even know what you call it, but if you're looking at your Outrider reference material and you're looking at this area right here, like, you'll see what I'm talking about. Like, it has like a kind of funky thing that sits right there. Whatever it is, I don't know. It is what it is. It looks interesting, I'll say that. I don't know how cool it looks. Doesn't look bad, it just looks different. That's what I'm looking for. It looks different. Okay. So now we're going to do white concrete from that gray line that will connect our cockpit to the center of our ship. Just bringing up those lines to have everything match up on the same height. And then we're going to add another layer on the inside of that. Or actually, no, we're going to come back, bring that back for a moment. I think we're going to we might progress that up one more row. We'll see. And what I'm doing right now, I'm making cut lines. And we're going to do an X cut line on all 4 sides, because I'm going to use this later on. And it's not going to make sense for a few minutes, but this is just a template so that when we have the full hull of the ship built in, that I'll have this cut line in place and I can just use that template to build this into the hull of the ship. And you literally just start at the center and go with a cut, and you do that on all 4 sides. It's automatically going to divide it for you. And then we're also going to go along the lip here on top of the gray concrete with a light gray. And then we're going to do a row of gray concrete behind that. Doesn't look too bad. Because here's one of the things too with the Outrider, it's not a big ship, it's relatively very small. So we don't have a lot of room to work with here to get our detailing in. So it's kind of vital with this build that whatever detailing we do have, it helps to complement the whole ship. So what I want to do is bring out those hull panels on the ship as much as I possibly can, because every bit of detail is going to help with this build. So then we're going to do a row of gray after a row of white concrete that we just added, and then we're going to do a row of gray concrete directly behind that. And now we're going to continue this pattern along the sides here until we get to that funky piece on the side there. And then we're going to go back with the gray directly behind that. Alright, that's looking good. We're going to continue our template on this side to finish this side up. Same thing, we do the gray, light gray, and then gray concrete directly behind that. So now we're going to come back and get rid of that light gray and replace that with white concrete. Alright, we're looking pretty good. So now we're going to repeat that, more or less we're going to do the same thing that we did on the top side. We're going to do it now on the bottom. Which is cool because this saves us a little bit of time here, because not with everything, but the majority of the stuff that we're going to do for the top side of the ship, we're going to do for the lower side as well. So it'll save us design time more or less, because we're only technically having to design the top side of the ship. It's just a matter of repeating that same step on the underside. So far so good. Let's continue on. You can see I'm building that line right off this cut line here, and we're just going with a cut. See how I'm developing that off the initial ring? So I'm just going off that cut line to start that out. Let's get rid of those. That looks pretty good. We can get rid of this. We don't need it anymore, because decided that we're not going to have that line be so narrow. It needed to be wider. So that's why I just decided to go off the cut line of the circle instead of the dead center. Because the way the hull paneling sits, there's kind of like gray gaps on the sides here, and it cuts inward. It's kind of hard to describe, but you'll see more what I mean when we get it filled in, or if you're looking at the reference material, it has like this dip in the front that's kind of specific to the Outrider. Alright, so we need to repeat that same process on the underside as well. You'd say I literally just used our builder block here to get our starting point. and it's only going down to the lip of the bottom of the outer side here. And as long as you're doing that, you're in good shape. So we're more or less just copying the top side here, our template, and bringing it down here. So I say a lot of the hard work is done for at least this portion of the build because we're just copying our template and moving it down to the underside. So I'm telling you, like, once you get into going with your cut lines and using templates, it's going to help save you a lot of time when you're trying to design these things out. You know, work smarter, not harder. That's kind of the way that I look at it. Alright, so now we're going to fill in just this corner right here on the left and right side. I don't believe we're going to fill in the middle of it just yet. And we're going to do the same thing for the left and right side, top and bottom. On the underside, we're going to fill in this gap in between our gray outline and the ring. But it's important not to fill in anything in between. And you'll see what I mean as we fill this in. Yeah, see, this is our center now, and we're just going to do this area here now. That looks pretty good. Let's do the underside. Oh, I missed a row here. Let's take care of that real quick. Okay, we're in good shape. Now you can start to see what I'm talking about. We're actually going to make another cut here and bring this, the shape on the sides will be the same, but when we get to like here, it'll cut inward and we'll add like another piece here and it'll go out here. And it'll look cool when it's done. She's finally starting to look like the Outrider a little bit, but we still have a lot of work to do. So now we're going to switch over to the quartz half slabs, going with our cut line on this ring, because we're going to start to try to blend this in. You don't need to fill in this spot here because there's going to be this is going to be closed in hull. If you really want to, I guess you can, just to say that you have it, just in case. And now we're going to go along our ring here, and we're going to do our builder line in blue going all the way around. And as long as you're following your cut, we're building on the same height, you should be good. And now on top of that, we're going to add another row of half slabs going all the way around. You don't necessarily have to use blue, but we're just using a color that sticks out so it doesn't blend in with the ship, and it's going to help keep us on point, basically. So now we're going to come back. Only thing I don't like about that is that it kind of blends in. So let's switch that to the white full block of quartz. And we're not going to fill in all the gaps. We're just going to go with a cut line here. So you should have something that looks like that. Not looking too bad. Not looking too bad at all. We'll strengthen up this row, or this inner ring, adding another layer going all the way around. Doesn't look too bad. I don't know if that's going to stay though. But before we get too heavy and going any further, we're going to go with our rule. If we do one thing on one side, we're going to do it on the other. In this case, if we're doing it on the top, we got to do it on the bottom. So we're going to repeat that same process again while this is still fresh in our minds. That's one of the things too, like you guys will see me doing this on my tutorial. Like if I do something like this 9 times out of 10, if I'm supposed to do it somewhere else, I'll do it immediately just to have that pattern fresh in my mind, because if you do it at a later point, you're just kind of opening the door for errors. Alright, so we completed that with the half slabs. Now, same process as before, we're going with our builder block on the inside lip, going all the way around with the cut. And then we're going to follow that up with half slabs on top of it. I almost did the concrete, but we need to do the quartz. Going with a cut. Don't worry about those little gaps here and there on the corners. We'll fill that in later. Alright. Let's check her out and see how she looks. That's not looking too bad. But we still have one more step. With the white concrete, we've got to bring this one more layer down. There you go. Even if we're going to make an adjustment to that, just want to make sure that my top and bottom match. So let's do white quartz going along the inside lip with the cut going all the way around. And then we'll copy that same process on the underside as well. As long as you're doing that, you can't make a mistake. If you do, go back, double check your work. Because trust me, even I make mistakes. Or once in a while, I'll inevitably make a mistake on one of my videos and someone will be like, hey, you messed up here. I'm just like, yep, I sure did. It happens. Alright, that looks pretty good. So we went along with the white concrete with our cut going all the way around. Doesn't look terrible so far. Still might have to make some adjustments, because I feel like this very center ring, it's kind of sticking out a little bit as opposed to the rest of that area. I don't know if that's necessarily working too well. But what we could do is take off that row that we had added and on the outside of this lip here and fill that in with half slabs. But we'll get into that in the next episode. We shot by 32 minutes. But I think that's going to do it for us today. If you have any questions regarding today's episode, drop a comment below. Definitely love hearing from everybody. If there's any builds you want to see me do, drop a comment below or go in the Discord and click on build suggestions. You can go here to post your build suggestions and other people can upvote on it. This is the way I determine what my next ship builds are going to be. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up on the YouTube channel in the future. We got Voyager that's currently ongoing right now. Voyager Season 2 will be coming up at some point, as well as the Excelsior 2 class, Enterprise D Season 2, Enterprise A 2.0 tutorial. There's a ton of upcoming builds that I have on my channel that I've committed to. I'm going to briefly talk about them. Dunderstack class, USS Defiant, La Serena, Fire Spray Gunship, Constitution Class 3, U-Wing, SR2 Normandy, the White Star, Babylon 5, the Milano, the Shriek, Wayne Manor from Batman the Animated Series, NSEA Protector from Galaxy Quest, Gunstar Fighter, the Last Starfighter. So I've got like a ton of content that's going to be coming up for y'all in the future. A lot of those that I went through the list are actually going to be small builds just like the Outrider. But anyway, I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode, and if you did enjoy this content, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comments section. Post your pictures in Discord.